Good morning, fifth grade. On this video, I'm going to go over assignment 0806, and this is multiplying a mixed number times a whole number, a mixed number times a mixed number, and a fraction times a fraction by using a model or a grid, okay? All right, so I'm going to switch over to my grid. All right, and the first problem I'm going to do is 3 times 2 3/4, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to color my grid, okay? It really doesn't matter. I'm just going to go over my grid with a black marker, and I'm just going to I'm not going to use the whole thing, but I'm just going to make a little rectangle or a box, okay? So now it doesn't matter which number I put where, but I'm going to put my 3 here and my 2 3/4 there. Because what we're doing is we're trying to find the area, okay? So the area of inside this picture or this grid. So in this lesson, we're trying to find the area, and the area is inside our shape. So now I want to show what 3 would look like, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a different color marker for this. And since it's Christmassy, I can get a red. This is close. This is kind of a fuchsia. All right, so I want to count 3 going across. So I want to count 1, 2, 3. Okay, so this would be 1, 2, 3 holes. All right, so 3 holes. Now going on this, so this would be 1, 1, and 1. So going on the side, it's 2 3/4. So we already count this one as 1. This would be 2. Now I have to measure what 3/4 would be. It's not a hole, so I know that 3/4 I can cut in half, and it would be a little bit bigger right here. So I'm going to erase my half, and I know that this is 3/4. So I'm going to shade in my 3/4. Okay. Now I'm going to connect these. Okay. I'm going to connect this line going across to the line going up and down. And this will be my shape. All right. So this will be a hole. This will be a hole. And this is going to be 3/4, and this is going to be 3/4. So I'm going to count how many holes I have first. I know that's a hole, 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 that's a hole. And this is a 3/4, this is a 3/4, and this is a 3/4, okay? That's a hole, and this is a 3/4. So now how I'm going to do is I'm going to count up everything that's on the inside of that shape. So I'm going to count my holes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I have 6 holes. And then I have 3 3/4. So I'm going to count 3/4 plus 3/4 plus 3/4. So I only count my numerator, so that would give me 9/4. Okay. So I have 6 holes and 9/4. Well, now I have to take my 9/4 and I have to, it's an improper fraction, and I want to create a mixed number. So I divide 4 into 9. I know I can do it twice. And I subtract 8 from 9. Okay, and I have 1 left. So that my answer would be 2 1/4. Because my numerator, my remainder becomes my numerator, and my divisor is my denominator. And I have to add it to my other whole, which is 6. So altogether, this would be 8 1/4. So then my answer would be 8 1/4. Okay. We'll do another example by using a grid. So this one would be 4.5 times 2 2/3. So let's do 4.5 going across. So I'm going to make my shape a little bigger than what it has to be. All right, I'm going to pick a different color on this one. I'll pick one that's a little bit lighter. So I want 4.5 on top and 2 2/3 on the side. So I want to count 4.5. So this is 1, this is 1, this is 1, this is 1, and this would be a half. So I have to shade in 1 hole, 2 holes, 3 holes, 4 holes, and then I have to shade in a half. So I'm just going to cut this square in half, and I'll shade in half of that. Okay, so I know that's a hole, a hole, a hole, a hole, and that's a half. Okay, so now I go down to the other side, and I want to shade in 2 2/3 in this first column. Well, one's already shaded. So that would be 2, and then I want to do 2/3. So in this case, I have to cut it into thirds. So that's a third, that's a third, and that's a third. So I'm going to erase this first line. And I know that this is 2/3. So that's a hole, and this is 2/3. Okay? So now I want to connect these two lines. I have a line here that I want to go all the way over here, and my line here that I want to go all the way over here. Okay? So I'm going to fill in my holes. That's another hole. That's another hole. And that's another hole. That's all my holes left. Then I want to shade in my parts. This is 2/3. This is 2/3. This is 2/3. Okay. And I know that this is another half. Now this piece right here gets a little confusing because it's only a part over on this side and it's only a part coming down. I'm not multiplying it by one hole. So then I have to figure out, well, this length is 2/3 and this length is 1/2. So this one's going to take a little bit more work to do. But I still have all of this that's shaded that I can start counting. Okay, so I'm going to count my holes. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I have 8 holes. And then my parts. I have 2/3, 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So 2/3 plus 2/3 plus 2/3 plus 2/3. And if I add them all up, so I have 2, 4, 6, 8. That gives me 8/3. Okay. Well, again, I want to figure out, and I can do this on another piece of paper. I can figure out 3 divided into 8. Well, I can do it twice. And 3 times 2 is 6. So I have 2 left over. So 8/3 is 2 2/3. Okay. So I know that that's 2 2/3. Then I have a half plus a half. Well, I should know what a half and a half is. That equals a whole. So now if I add these all together, I have 8 plus 2 2/3 plus 1. So I'm going to add all my holes together. So 8 plus 2 is 10, plus 1 is 11. and then I also have 2/3. Okay, so I have 11 and 2/3 so far. Okay, now I want to find out the area of this last space here. Okay, this is what I want to find out, what the area is for this last space. So I have to multiply 2/3 times 1/2. Again, I'm not multiplying it by a whole because these are two fractions, because it's just a partial. Well, I know I have to multiply my numerators together, so 2 times 1 is 2, and in my denominators together, which 3 times 2 is 6. So now I have 2 6. So I have to add those together. So I have 11 plus 2/3 plus 2 6. Well, can I add 2/3 and 2 6 together? No, I cannot do that. So I want to find equivalent fractions. And I want to use my smaller denominator and do equivalent fractions. So 2/3, my next equivalent fraction, if I do multiples of 2 would be 4, multiples of 3 would be 6. Well, 4 6 and 2 6 have the same denominator. So now I can add 4 6 plus 2 6, and I get 6 6. And I know 6 6 equals 1 whole. And I already have 11, so I want to add 11 to 1, and that gives me 12. So my answer to this problem would be 12. Okay, there was a lot of work to that one when you have a fraction times a mixed number times a mixed number. Okay, so you might want to watch this one again, how we did this. All right, let's do it. Let's do one more with a fraction times, a mixed number times a mixed number. So let's do 2 1/3 times 2 1/4. Again, I'm going to draw a shape. I can make this a little smaller because my number's not as big. All right, let's do 2 1/3 on the top and 2 1/4 on the bottom. I'm going to shade in 2 holes. Then I'm going to do 1/3. Okay, so I can, this is about 1/3 here. Oh, I'm sorry, I went the wrong direction. Going across. This is about 1/3 right there. Right there. It's about 1/3. Okay. So I'm going to shade in 1, 1, and this is 1/3. Okay. Now going down, I have 2 1/4 right here. So that's 1 hole, 2 holes, and now I want to shade in 1/4. Well, I know that I can shade in 1/2, and then half of that half is 1/4. And this is 1/4. Okay. So I know that this is a whole, and this is 1/4. So now I want to connect these two lines, okay? So this line going across here will go all the way. Actually, I want to do that in black. Go across, and then this one all the way until we meet. Okay. I'm going to shade in my other hole, shade in my 1/3, and shade in my 1/4. Hole, 1/3, 1/4. And this little piece here, again, is our little difficult one here. This is the one where it's going to be 1/4 and 1/3. So I'm going to save that. I can add up my holes. Okay. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 holes. Then I have 1/3 plus 1/3, 1/4 plus 1/4. So 1/3 plus 1/3 is 2/3. 1/4 plus 1/4 is 2/4. Okay. So 2/3 plus 2/4. Again, can I add those together? No, I cannot. Okay, let's use our other strategy to find common denominators, which means that I can take 2/3 and I can multiply it by the other denominator. Okay, I want to multiply it by 4, my denominator, and to make sure that 2/3 does not change its value, I have to multiply it by 4 in the numerator as well. And then 2/4, I want to multiply by the other denominator, excuse me, I might have said numerator, by the other denominator, which is 3, and then 3 in my numerator because I don't want to change its value. So now I have to figure out what 2/3 times 4/4 is. I would multiply 2 times 4. Multiply 3 times 4, I get 8/12. And then 2 times 3, and 4 times 3, which I get 12ths. So now I have 12 as my common denominator. So I have 8/12 plus 6/12. And that gives me 14/12. Okay. We're going to kind of leave that over here. Okay, so I have 4 plus 14/12 because we have this little piece here. We might need to come up with a common denominator for that one. So in this little square here, or it's actually a rectangle, I want to find out the area of that. Well, if one side is 1/4 and one is 1/3, then I have to multiply those two together. And 1/4 times 1/3 would equal 1/12. So now I can take that 1/12 and just add it to my 14/12. And that now gives me 4 wholes plus 15/12. Okay. Now for some of you that like the number bond, I can use my number bond. So I want to take a whole out, 12/12, and 15 minus 12 is 3/12. Okay. So I just made a whole, and I have 3/12 left. So 1 whole plus 4 equals 5, and 3/12 would then be my answer, 5 and 3/12. Okay. So in this lesson, we learned how to multiply mixed numbers times mixed numbers and mixed numbers times whole numbers to find out the area of a shape. And we used modeling to find this out. So we did 3 problems. Okay, our first one was a whole number times a mixed number, and our second one was a mixed number times a mixed number, and our third one was a mixed number times a mixed number. So again, watch this as often as you would like. This is for assignment 0806. Okay, 0806. And if you have any questions, you can always contact me and send me an email, and we can also set up an independent time together. So have a great day.